Welcome to this ChannelX Leaders interview for 2026. Delighted to be joined by Kevin, UK country head at Base.com. So welcome, Kevin. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you, Chris. Nice to see you again. Looking forward to our conversation.
So you're based down in Brighton these days. I can see through the office window you're out in the countryside at the seaside, but you've been around the industry for a few years, Kevin, and I know you were at eBay for a good time. Tell us who you are and how you ended up heading up Base.com.
Yeah, so I've been at Base now, came my third year in the UK. Previous to that, I've worked in the e-commerce / commercial industry in many different roles for too many years to mention, 20 plus years. And the likes of eBay, obviously I'd met you previously there when I was working at eBay, and other sort of large e-commerce businesses. I joined Base, as I say, just under 3 years ago, an opportunity to join an exciting scaling up global organization that for many years, but was looking for that kind of global expansion and the ambition to grow a great product in the UK. So I grabbed it with both hands and have been on that journey over the last couple of years, and we are where we are now today.
So you've already said a ton of stuff I want to pick up on a little bit later, both on technology and international expansion and all sorts of things. But before we get to that, tell us about what trends you're seeing that are likely to shape e-commerce and multi-channel selling in 2026. What can we expect from the year ahead?
So I think as always, it's very, very competitive. All the sellers that we speak to and I speak to personally every day, are looking to try and have that edge against their competitors and are trying to find the best ways to manage their business. And I think the year ahead is, the customer, the customers of the sellers that, they expect high levels of performance from who they're purchasing products from online, because there's so much choice and, deliveries are so quick now and everything else that you've got to produce an operational business that can meet the needs of the customer to be successful. And I think more and more businesses are looking for ways that they can make that happen, and improve it and make it faster, because that's what the consumers are looking for to be successful. I think one of the big kind of trending areas, as we know is pretty much hyped at the moment, is AI. But while we're at the early stages of what the potential of that may be, there's enough development now where that can help in many different parts and areas of a business, from customer service to customer success to automation to making the right decisions. And I think while one of the areas I was talking to a customer the other day was around they've got loads of data points, we're furnished with so much data now and the way to abstract data, but it's actually making meaningful decisions on that data to improve the business or to react to things in the business that helps them to be better. And I think that's the shift we'll see this year, is about going from kind of the data that's known to actually making informed decisions, not being reactive but more proactive. And I think AI can support that, but it's not just that, but that will make a significant difference this year.
And I'm glad you talked about data, because that brings me on to one of my pain points I've seen throughout the industry for many years, that people will adopt a product like Base.com to run their multi-channel business, but they'll hardly use any of it. They'll use it for listing and collecting orders, and that's about it. And I wanted to highlight and ask you a bit more about Base Analytics, which is the data side of Base. That I think was it the end of last year, beginning of this year that it just came in? But talk to us about data and what Base Analytics can do and how it can help inform about a business and actually give direction and in ways to grow.
Yeah, and I think that's a good question. I think, this is about the understanding of Base and how it's evolved, and the business has evolved over the last 20 years since it originated. Is that, primarily in the early stages, it was about channel management and connecting marketplaces and very kind of synchronizing data in those areas. But actually, the products that we offer to our customers and what customers are now needing and what the businesses want is, an end-to-end platform that brings all of those elements of an operating system together to make you more efficient and more optimized and deliver better results. So, we do obviously the channel integration and synchronization, but we do the product management, we do the warehouse management, and all the other things that any e-commerce business would need to consider to be more effective. And one of the pieces, and again, we talk about kind of launching new products or new services within the products. It's driven by customer, what the customer needs and what they've asked for. And one of the things that was everyone was asking, because there's so much data, is can you provide something that will allow us to really understand that data and look at those data points and make meaningful actions? So we've launched base analytics, which is inbuilt in the platform and is available to all of our customers, and that takes all those data points from multiple channels, from ordering, and it allows you then to do some meaningful actions off the back of it, like forecasting the products are selling well, ones that you need to reorder faster, stop points, your revenue across multiple channels, bringing it in so that you can compare which ones are moving faster. Products which start to really rapidly increase, you can make changes to, the channels that you want to offer it on. So I think this is this kind of moving towards the actual the automation, or the kind of the driving on the decisions that you make based on the data. But to do that data needs to be in a form that you can understand, and that's what base analytics at its core does. It's a really, it's a great looking dashboard, and you can dig into it in multiple different ways. But at its essence, it's giving you the insights that allow you to make meaningful decisions and then automate those decisions through the platform.
And as a side note, I think it's worth pointing out that you've given base analytics to all of your clients for free. It's not something you've got to subscribe to as an extra. And in fact, everything that you can get within base is in the core price when you're signing up. It's not adding on a whole load of extra fees all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not about modularization or trying to add on something that is a different product value. It's about providing that complete service. And the analytics side was one piece that could be improved, and we could give what customers were asking for. So we delivered it, and we're making consistent changes based on what's needed by the customers and the changes in in the ecosystem and what people are looking for. But yeah, that was definitely one that's been really well received. And the other one is the warehouse management side. So more and more people are asking our customers and sellers are asking us to help them with the organization and the delivery of the sort of back office warehouse management, packing, dispatch, location of products and goods in and out. And so we've now got a really good system of warehouse management that's built in. So some of our customers may not need that element, but they still have access to it. As I say, it's not modularized. So but what it does, it means it's future-proofing them, so as soon as they start to expand or have multiple locations and warehouses, they've got the ability to switch that on and use it and use the functionality that's there. So, it's open to all, as you said, but it's very comprehensive for the large enterprise clients that we work with, as well as the smaller sellers that are scaling and looking to understand what they need to do in the future.
Talking about scaling, I want to pick your brains. Advice for sellers. It is a tough economic environment out there. Regulation, especially when selling internationally, is getting harder and harder, more and more stringent, whether it be complying with import taxes and duties and VATs, or whether it be simply complying with the data that you've got to hand over to the carriers. For those that are kind of struggling to expand internationally, what advice have you got for them in 2026? Where should they start, and what are the big insurmountable challenges that are actually quite easy to fix?
So I think if you're looking to expand, you're right, regulation changes consistently across different regions. I think it's understanding where you can acquire that knowledge to know, effectively how to sell in multiple regions. And also the infrastructure across those regions, because that's always a barrier to entry. It's okay to be able to take orders and be successful selling in a European country, but you've got to know how you're going to get the product there, what's the delivery infrastructure, is there fulfillment locally that you could use. So I would definitely say, it is, once you've gone through that process, I talk to many clients that are looking for that kind of expansion, is to make sure that you can gain that knowledge from somewhere. Now, we work with many third-party kind of support agencies that are really are the experts in their field in each of the different regions, and they support the sellers to understand what they need to do. But also, we have experience ourselves at base of actually, we've got feet on the ground and offices all across Europe and in the US and in multiple different locations. And so because of that, we've got, and that's why we did the UK as well, we've got dedicated teams that know how to sell in those regions, so we can connect people up with the right people. But I would say people not using base, we should be using base, but people that are not using our platform, I would say it's get that knowledge. There's organisations that you can go to, the business, small business organisations for the smaller will give you the data, and also you can search for it. But I think I think there was that point where it became too complex and a lot of businesses switched off until they could really understand the impact. But I think now if you understand the infrastructure and you get the right information, you can then sell globally very successfully, as we see many of our clients do.
And I noticed you slipped in there a little cheeky. If you're using something like Base, you should be using Base. But talking about Base, where do you see the role of a management tool like Base evolving over the next few years? I mean, for most tools nowadays, and a lot of the marketplace management, we kind of consider it a tick in the box, but it is things like you've mentioned Base Analytics, the WMS, the selling internationally. It's all of these other tools that start to make a difference. But where do you see the future for Base going?
So I think it's really interesting. I think what we see is that customers and sellers and brands and retailers are looking for simplicity out of the chaos that's out there to actually manage a full e-commerce operation. So I think it's more about multiple sellers, multiple tools. They use different applications. They've got 6 or 7 different marketplace channels they might be managing. They've got different people doing that. They're using one system for their product management. They're using another system for order management. They've got their ERP system. So there's kind of like this complete tech stack of build that a lot of it is legacy, and they've built that over time. And I think what they really want to achieve, and what we and other products like us and this range is, how can you simplify that? How can you make that less tools under one roof that does all of the things that you need to do? But I think where it's going to evolve is it's not about providing the tools and then being reactive over the actions that happen. It's about those tools will become more automated, will make more informed decisions for you, will connect all of those parts of that e-commerce journey together, and actually will highlight where there's changes and improvements that need to be made. So it will become more self-fulfilling in what it can generate and support. And I think so it's less probably tool creep, and stack will be reduced. One simple solution that can do everything that they need, that is future proofing, that it's got the ability to start to be more proactive in kind of the suggestions and the improvements. And I think obviously with the AI and things like that, that's all going to become, I think, pretty standard. But that's where I see the likes of Base, how we can support for the seller ultimately to be more efficient, sell more, less cost to sell, everything that you would expect from the business.
Final question. You could give e-commerce leaders that you wish they'd adopt in the next 12 months. What would it be?
Oh, good question. I would probably say, and especially when I speak to emerging businesses or scaling businesses that are just at that point of growth, that look at your operational infrastructure before going for the scaling and the growing and the fast orders. There's many times that I've spoken to businesses where they've found the right products, they found the right market, and all of a sudden they start to grow significantly, but the operational back office is not set up to be able to do that, and it either reduces down that growth or actually breaks it, and then you're fighting to try and improve. So I would say definitely review what you need and be prepared for that scaling. Have those operational systems in place like Base that can allow you to do that. And then when you do get that point of that massive growth, that you're ready and you can take it all on board. I think that where this has been even pushed even further, and this was one example, was the rise of the social channels that are obviously becoming more and more prevalent and more successful in social selling, and live channels like eBay have now obviously got their live channel, and you've got TikTok and live. There's a lot of products that there's a lot of businesses that go onto those channels, and all of a sudden they find a product that becomes a trend and then just flies
viral, and before they know it, can't cope.
Yeah, and I've had a couple of sellers I've spoken to that have been in that situation, but they just don't know how to manage that success that they've seen, those spikes, those kind of, and that's where if you have that operational base that's set up, to take those kind of growth improvements and especially the rapid ones, you need the systems in place first. So to answer your question, I would definitely recommend, don't hit the chaos, make sure that your operational systems are set up before you actually start to push the growth, whether that's internationally or in your own country.
Kevin, I want to thank you so much for your time and insights today. And what I will do is below this video, you'll find a link for base.com. So if you want to find out more, whether it be about analytics or WMS or simple marketplace management or expanding internationally, go to base.com and you'll find the information there. But Kevin, thanks so much for your time, and look forward to catching up later in the year.
Yeah, no, thanks for your time, Chris. Really enjoyed the conversation.